Hello, hello. So today I want to talk about topic of relationships, and I was working on this topic for a while. Sometimes I work on a kind of philosophical aspects of life, trying to document my thoughts, rationalize them, and model them, and find how life actually works. And for last months or two, specifically, I was working, or I guess updating my thoughts about relationships. So let's dive right in and see if I can articulate how I see relationships, when they work, when they don't, and how to assess them and things like that. So, as you see, there is a diagram in front of you, but I developed this idea of, I call it couples bubble. And this model literally represents that model. So, as you see, we have different kind of circles, different areas, and they represent, I guess, different influence on us. So let's start. In essence, the couple bubble is a mental place where partners feel strong connection and a sense of a union. There are external distractions that can harm and pull away individuals from successful successfully engage and contribute to couples bubble. And we're gonna talk about this in a second. Those are friends and acquaintances right here. Parents, relatives, could be career, hobbies, interests. Could be also addiction to some substances. Could be also overwhelmed stream of information. And some people have uncontrolled shopping addiction, for example. These are the things that can take over one's time and mental focus. And by doing so, they stop you from dedicating these resources to your significant other. Yeah, by the way, if you already probably figured out there is a woman and a man here, please don't pay special attention on specifics of these images. A woman doesn't have to hold the phone, and the guy doesn't have to turn around and walk away. It's just this is what I found in a representative kind of uh, elements in the app that I've been using to draw these things. So please move along and don't pay a whole lot of attention on these specifics. Okay, so that's why there are lines that go from each individual through the boundaries of the couple's bubble. I'm talking about these lines. So you see, there is a bubble in the middle, and these lines kind of poke through and potentially can pull individual out of the bubble. So ideally, you want to have these guys looking towards one another. You want them to face center. But these things on outside can make them look to the outside. Um, and once you look one way, then obviously you cannot look the other way, or it's becoming harder. Obviously, it's analogy, but in my view, it works pretty well. So these are what's called them external distractions. So I would like to underline that they don't have to be looked at as negatives. They're just part of life, but they definitely impact negatively on relationship itself, especially if not approached accordingly or carefully. Okay, so these lines represent the channels that can and will allow the, I call it romantic air, to escape the couple's bubble, consequently shrinking its size. Yeah, so think about a balloon and you have air inside. If you poke balloon, it start gonna lose air. So we have roughly a similar idea here. You kind of want to maximize air to keep it to yourself, but these things can make the air leave the bubble and then gonna start shrinking more and more. Contrary, some external distractions can transition into shared experiences. So right here we have a shared experiences area, and you see this arrow coming up. pointing to this area. So, what are the shared experiences? Really briefly, it's what unites us, you and your significant other. That's what you share. That's where you find joy and play and just, I guess, enjoy yourself together. So, some of these can actually transition to the shared experiences. For example, beliefs can do that. Obviously, you can share friends, you can work in the same field, you can share hobbies. And if you have decent relationship with the family of your significant other, they can become your shared experiences as well. But we'll touch on shared experiences in more detail down the line. So at this point, these no longer act as threats, but rather become even more bonding opportunity. But this transition should take place organically. It cannot be forced, and I think this is very important because it might be tendency from one individual both to bring these things in shared experiences zone and force them on one another, and that can become uncomfortable or may feel forced or can bring stress. Depends how it turns out. It's pretty, I mean, I guess random. It can go either way. But if you happen to enjoy these things, then you're gonna have even more shared experiences. So you have to be really careful and introduce these things with communication, with care, and appropriate speed, I guess. So otherwise, it might take your partner to potentially build a mental wall to defend from unwanted experiences, people, things, activities, as these have not been chosen as part of established relationship, as part of establishing the relationship. We don't reject partners because of their profession, family, hobbies, etc., and that's important. But later on, these things sneak into the couple's bubble. They tend to do so and causing some effect. It could be positive, could be negative. But initially, we don't choose partners because of these things, usually, right? Nobody said, "Oh, you're a lawyer. No, we're not going to date." Or have, XYZ friends. That's it. It's turn off. It can be, I guess, but usually it's not the deal breaker, at least initially. And then let's talk about the outer influences. So these are right here on the outside area. So what's significant about these? They are largely out of your control. They just exist. They change. They impact you one way or another, but you have almost no control on them. You can limit them or try to prepare for them, but it can be really challenging. It's definitely out of your control per se. So what do we have? We have politics. So think about obviously Republicans, Democrats. It can really impact you if there is a, I guess, not shared belief. So position that you have politically might have no position, but your significant other does have, or you both can experience it as a pressure coming from TV or mass media, and it can stress things out. Next one goes religion. Again, you might have different influences coming from outside, again, from TV, from establishments, and so forth. Obviously, economy, you might lose your job, you might have some financial issues. A country can have financial issues. As far as crime, self-explanatory. It might be becomes a bit scary to walk down uh, a dark alley, or even not dark alley, just a street. And we see right now this happening in some parts of country. Some cities became outright dangerous, so that can make it a bit different or difficult to adapt sometimes, and you might have to adjust, talk about it, and take appropriate actions. Some people even move from one city to another just because of homeless and crime and so forth. Here I have also markets. So markets, let's think about stock market, real estate, commodities, whatever. If you have investments, they might go up or down, and then that can impact your reality and your relationship. We also have health in here, so anything can happen obviously to you. You might get in a car accident, you might just have some disease that out of the blue strikes you, and that might be very impactful as well. And obviously weather, but probably you can agree it's a minor thing. We can deal with snow, rain, and earthquakes and so forth, even tornadoes. So to summarize, the outside influences, they are largely out of your control. You can try to prepare and adjust to them, but they are out of your control by definition. Okay, now let's go dive inside of the bubble. So we also have here star. I call it a North Star. I kind of get this idea from consulting a little bit. Some companies try to develop North Star to know where they're going, what products to design, and how to please customers. So it's great if you have North Star. It represents a desired future, the vision for a state of ultimate arrival, a happy and fulfilled life. So I guess we should start talking about why we have this kind of central area. That's something that you have to share, something that have to be in common, something that you have to align on. And we have multiple areas here. So we just talked about North Star. It's your envisioned life, like what actually you want to have as a romantic relationship. What's the environment you want to have, and routines, and any kind of joyful experiences. Maybe not joyful, maybe you're masochist and you like pain, so but hopefully there's not a lot of those people out there. Okay, so let's talk about this area, growth. So growth area represents activities that develop an individual into more sophisticated human being. It is fundamental opportunity for a couple to bond while making it through a complex challenge. So here I have investing, business, building your character and become more and more intelligent. So you can think about these things as a more, I guess, complex, more challenging things to achieve. Some of these things might take the entire life. Some of these can take decades. But notice this area is right in the middle between individuals because if you both partake in these things and they take time, take effort, and as you move along, as you progress, then it becomes this bonding mechanism. It becomes something that you both grow, and yeah, it becomes a very unifying experience. I think we can find a lot of examples. You can find them probably among your friends and maybe relatives. That those that share something big that they go towards, some sort of business, challenge, competition, um, that usually becomes really this strong uh, magnetic force. All right, moving along. So we haven't talked about chemistry reactor. So that's thing on the bottom. So chemistry reactor is what provides a source of unlimited, I'd like to underline this, unlimited energy and inspiration that permeates through shared experiences, this area, and provides fuel for seeking growth, this area. So notice there is this energy lettering here. If this element is missing, it is typically extremely hard to find energy to deal with life sustainably, find pleasure in day to day activities, and it makes growth truly challenging. So, what I have here, obviously, I have sex, passion, attraction, touch, and you might keep throwing more words of that nature here. But these seems to be more, I guess, concrete and, um, I guess, specific. So I think sex life very important. I think that's largely what really creates this chemistry, right? It creates this energy, it creates desire to go forward, looking forward for next day, and so forth. Passion. Um, I mean, these words are largely similar. Touch is just one way to enjoy one another. So with sex, passion is more like feel what you have, and attraction is just how you feel about the person again, right? So these words are very similar, but they kind of represent different aspects of romantic life. So as more of these you have in good check or good level, the more of that the energy that you're probably going to produce to move forward with life, with your personal life. So I call it chemistry reactor. So think about like atomic reactor, atomic power plant. So it creates this energy that feeds these areas. All right. So real quickly, I want to talk about identity. So identity, we attracted to someone by looks and identity. So initially, it's probably looks. I know for me, it's first 5 minutes. After that, I really care about identity more than looks. Identity is a combination of beliefs, goals, skills, interests, ways we behave, and things that we do. It's inside of us. It's who we are. Identity is a deep matter and it is continuously evolving. We start exploring our partner's identity during early dating and continuing throughout the lifespan of the relationship. And I'd like to underline that identity probably going to be changing, can change, it probably will change. So you should be ready for it. And that's, I guess, what makes it interesting is that it's not still, it's morphing. Hence, your relationship going to be keep on evolving, hopefully, into right direction, I guess, pleasurable direction. All right. So now that we described this, I'd like to talk about what to do with this, how to operate. And first is, I believe, you need to cultivate a relationship. The key is to realize that great things don't happen on its own. You have to cultivate them. The word cultivate means, and that's my description, my definition, to proactively engage in activities that promote growth, set in direction, in other words. The next thing is set boundaries. It is critical, in my view, to set boundaries and develop protection mechanism that would stop unhealthy influences coming from the outside. We just talked about those, is this area and the outside. The key is to always keep in mind that protecting and cultivating the couple's bubble is the priority and should become a conscious intention. So you have to always keep that in mind and have it as a priority and know that is important to you. Your partner ideally represents your best friend, your lover, your safety net, your inspiration, your reason to live sometimes. And because of this expensive combination, there is practically nothing that can compare in the level of importance. I like to repeat this. And because of this expensive combination, there is practically nothing that can compare in a level of importance. Perhaps family and friends are the second close, but it's not as complete package and it's just different. So let's talk about friends here for a second to compare. Friends come and go. Some stay for a long time if they proven to be worthy and promote the better you. And we know we can have good friends, bad friends, uh, temporary friends, right? We might feel need for connection, and we just basically find whoever and then treat them as a temporary stepping stone or mental support. Things happen sometimes. So now let's talk about relationship with the family. So that's the unique one. It's the only, think about it, it's the only relationship in life that you didn't choose, right? It was given to you at birth. Hence, it can be anything. It can be healthy, toxic, but it's what gives you your last name. Family, it's like a first page of Google search. It's always there. It's in your face. You might not like it, but you can't avoid it. And it's usually good, but not always. You can try tweak the search criteria to get better results, but success is not guaranteed. And you might get the same outcome. So it's only the relationship with your significant other that can truly allow the full range of emotions and to find meaning in life. And so, wouldn't you want to cherish this and give it priority over things and people? The rhetoric question for you. Okay, so let's talk about direction, facing the right way. Each individual needs to mostly face the center of the bubble rather than to the outside. He or she needs to engage by. So these are these things: initiating activities, contributing plans, ideas, resources, work hours, what have you. So any kind of resources, we can contribute those. Or ideas, that's not really a resource, but it's a product of your work. And then the last one is participating in activities initiated by your partner, right? So now let's kind of grade them a little bit. As you can see, the participation is the least active type of engagement. Think about it. Participation is the least active type of engagement. You did not contribute anything, you did not initiate anything, you are only participating. So you're present, right? And the level of participation can also grade anywhere from simply along for the ride and all the way to actively and deeply engaged. No multitasking. The participation can rather quickly transition into contribution, right? Once the partner realizes that he or she is not actively active enough or he's on his her part, but that's not given. So first you participate, then you decide, oh, I can make it better, or I can have some ideas how to uh, add variety. And I think the initiate, that's the most, I guess, leading uh, trait or leading type of activity. So you come up with idea and you purposely um, initiate something, asking to participate your partner. So that's leadership role. Okay, so how to operate? So I recommend you to use one thing approach. To promote a joyful relationship, an individual needs to give more than to take. Given this intent to succeed as a team, each partner should operate on daily basis by asking a simple question: would me doing XYZ make my partner's life or our experience as a team better or worse? And then you can decide the answer to this question. If the answer is it's probably going to make things better, so you take it on those activities. If the answer is no, it's going to make it worse. You can either just not do it, or maybe you can discuss with your partner and say, hey, these things are happening and they're um, they are pressing me to I guess partake, but I think it's going to be a negative impact. What do you think? Should I do it or should not? The next thing is establishing a safety net. So each partner should be able to be vulnerable and honest. A couple needs to establish a safe space. Both partners must know that the other half is an ally rather than a Cold War challenger. So think about it as obviously safe space itself explanatory, but looking at your partner, you can say anything and it's not going to be taken against you, right? So only then you can talk about anything and be transparent and genuine. Um, I think you need to have a post check on your relationship and should meet regularly. To avoid the issues to sneak in on you, regular meetings should be hosted. During these meetings, each partner um, would share on what bothers them and what makes them happy. Also, use the time to as an opportunity to show appreciation and celebrate wins. You should also probably discuss changes in life that take place, especially that comes on the outside. Um, when distractions from the outside were able to penetrate, or when the personal beliefs or goals change, it is essential to reassess the landscape together and formulate a mutually acceptable plan on how to deal with these events. You have to understand that your other half might not be okay with simply going with the flow, and these changes might significantly conflict with vision, goals, desires of that person. If not addressed and entirely met, it can set up for future challenges and possibly a complete failure of the relationship. So please keep that in mind. If you change your approach to things, if new things come in, obviously you got to remember that your other half did not see this before. So it were not a kind of consideration how they feel about them. They never been there. So once something new occurs, happens, probably needs to be discussed so everybody is comfortable moving along. The next one is you just have to keep working on it. In any work, we tend to become better and better over time if we stick to the same field of work long enough. By actively learning the trade and by seeking the best ways of doing things, we find solution to problems. By default, you become better and better, and you start to stand out from crowd. You start to get more money, more attention, recognition, respect. And to get there, you had to spend time and efforts, stick to the focused work to improve yourself, to fit the system better. So it's basically the same happens in relationship. The key is to stick long enough so that you start to reap benefits of your investment of time and energy when the going is hard. It's obvious it's going to be hard times and challenging times. If you stick together and you apply these methods, this mental model, then you have a chance to collaborate, negotiate, and move forward, maybe compromise in places. So that's the idea I wanted to talk about today. The other concept, I call it two mountains model. So imagine there is a mountain for a guy, there is a mountain for a woman, and each of these individuals standing on the very top of these mountains. So as long as they're on the top of mountains, they have hard time to talk to one another. Scream, but still not hear one another. It's only when they kind of start going downhill, the distance between their location is getting um, shorter and shorter, and it's easy and easy to communicate. So in this analogy, I try to kind of describe the idea of approachability and I guess down to earthness, right? The simpler you are, the more transparent you are, the more approachable you are. It's easier to communicate with you. It's you become more pleasing individual, and it's nice to be around you. But we might have different variations of this. We might have each individual standing at the very top, and then some gradation. You might have one individual halfway down, the other individual still on the top, or already went all the way down, and so forth. Or ideally, you want both of them to be all the way down. So for one, it shows equal investment of efforts and intention, right? So then you don't feel like, oh, I give more than this person, and on the receiving end, you don't receive as much. So ideally, obviously, you wanna give as much as you receive. But I would challenge you to think even further. You're in relationship because you just want it to be a happy place, and you kind of want to give yourself out there. So I think it's great to give more than you take. Uh, Obviously, it's not like even there's no mechanism to measure it or something. Just give the best you can, and I think the other person would see it and act accordingly, or hopefully they're gonna see it. So that's what I want to talk about today. I think this model that you see on the screen during those frequent meetings, either weekly, monthly, however you decide to run with it, what you can do, you can talk about where you guys are, which areas are at risk, which areas are doing well, and how you guys engage. Are you contributors? Are you just participating? Who is initiating? And whether there is a trend. One person is consistently initiating, the other person is consistently only participating and not initiating or contributing anything. So you kind of want to be again on equal stance here. Somebody might be a leader, but it's if it happens long enough, you kind of start to shut down and lose energy, perhaps. So I'll give you an idea. You want to make sure you have common goal, North Star. Where you going? Why you going there? How much time you think it's going to take you? Can you describe it? And make sure it's shared. Because if you have different North Stars, then you have, I guess, each individual have its own direction, and then it's really hard to navigate life. Um, would be great if you have growth, something that you can both learn and bond around this area. Shared experiences is pretty common. This could be sports, events, different classes. Traveling is very popular. Festivals. So the more you can throw here, again, the better. And yeah, make sure your chemistry is in check and everything is healthy down there. That's gonna keep on giving you power and energy to keep going forward despite the challenges you might experience in the rest of the areas. As long as your chemistry is there, I think you have a good chance to succeed. It kind of keeps pulling you together. Uh, so yeah, whenever you have a meeting, you can kind of circle the area, say, "Hey, we have a problem with my friends, or we have a problem with work, and it's pulling me away. Are you okay with it or not? Maybe you can help me. What should I say?" Or my family is misbehaving. XYZ person is keep calling me at 2 in the morning, and obviously it's negative impact on both of you. So yeah, you can use this to find problem area and start working on it. And again, use this very basic question: would me doing this make my partner's life or experience for our team better or worse? And it's really easy differentiator: yes or no. I don't know, give example, I book tickets to Miami. Is it good for us or no? Yeah, we're gonna have good time, so it's good for us. Or I'm working overtime this week. Is it good for us or bad for us? Well, depends, right? You make probably more money. You might have a promotion or recognition, but very importantly, you lose time with your significant other. So you probably want to talk about it. Or you both need to align, like, hey, we're gonna have big plans. I don't know, travel somewhere or build something and we need funds. So let's both kick it and make more money, or it might happen that one individual can make more money on demand, sort of. So you just have to discuss. So use this template as a way to check reality check where you are, whether you're still on the same page, and whether you need to talk about something.